Welcome back, guys, to another video of Lost Judgment. Today we are continuing the story and we're going to be talking to Saori. This game is a detective game with some action combat, and it is really fun and kind of funny in some ways I didn't expect. But here we go. Open this door. Thank you very much.
Are we ready, Yagami-san? Let's start with our visit to Mamiya-san, if that sounds reasonable to you.
Sounds reasonable. Hold on, give me 1 second. I want to make sure.
Sure.
I want to make sure I'm not. Yeah, not missing anything. Am I missing anything? No. Okay. All right,
ready,
let's go.
Yagami-san? Let's start with our visit to Mamiya-san, if that sounds reasonable to you.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's start there.
So, the victim's story is completely in line with her court testimony, huh?
That's correct. There wasn't anything new to pick up.
Unfortunately.
In which case, should we look into the murder video instead? Like, figure out how they made it?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Whether that tape's fake or real, someone had to put it online, right? Do we have any theories on who that might be?
Good point.
Well, the footage showed enough of the surroundings to make the crime scene clear. As somebody who's been there, I can confirm that the blood splotches match what you see in the footage. Which means...
Yeah. Pretty much it's either... I mean, it could also be uploaded, like, via scheduled, like a timeline. I don't know why my stick is, like, drifting, I guess. That's a problem. Might have to switch to my other PS5 controller. I think his accomplice posted it, honestly. Because he couldn't have posted it himself.
The murderer's accomplices have to be the ones who posted it for him.
Yeah, I can't see it any other way.
I also agree with Yagami-san.
But in that case, what would their motive be?
Maybe they wanted to make a mockery of the police, or even the whole system.
Huh?
We know Ehara got himself convicted for groping, so he'd have an alibi for Mikoshiba's killing. But then, his conspirators turned it around by uploading the murder video online. Almost as if to say, look how he got away with it.
I see. Yeah, that does make it sound like he's taunting them.
That's well and good, but I'd like to shift gears. Let's talk about the actual fabrication of the video. How does one go about that?
Well, for example, the true culprit would be taped murdering Mikoshiba. Then Ehara's face would be copied and blended onto the killers. That's how they'd approach it in a Hollywood movie.
But then, wouldn't you be able to see traces of it being faked?
Tsukumo-san reported that he's found nothing of the sort in his analysis.
We've been down this road before.
Right?
If we take the stance that the footage is fabricated, we have absolutely nothing to work with.
Then let's tackle this from the stance that the video's actually real. If that's the case, there has to be a flaw in the groping issue. I think we've collected enough evidence to find it too.
So, what does this do for us?
Once Ehara entered the Ikebukuro gates at 7:43 a.m. and stepped onto the platform, he was continuously monitored on camera. But if he really killed Mikoshiba at 7:30 like we saw, there's no way he could have reached Ikebukuro in time. That would mean the person in the footage isn't Ehara, but an impersonator.
So that's not really him?
Yeah. He's got the sunglasses and hat to help sell the disguise.
Oh, snap. You
Wait,
know
if
what?
that's the case, after murdering Mikoshiba, wouldn't Ehara have to swap places with the stand-in sometime before being detained?
Right.
But we didn't see any opportunity for that. Multiple cameras saw Ehara move right up to Mamiya-san as they board the train in Ikebukuro. And the onboard camera recorded them for the entire commute.
No, there's a blind spot.
Was the act caught on tape, but his failed escape from the scene was recorded as well. Ultimately, Ehara was pinned down before leaving Mamiya-san's sight, so she had an eye on him the whole time.
Right. So the current belief is that Ehara was caught on camera the entire time he was at the station.
But wait, that's not entirely accurate, is it?
No.
Huh?
There's a blind spot, dude. I remember there being a blind spot. So they could have swapped places in some instance. Yeah. There's a blind spot. Like, you can literally see it. It's right there.
Remember how we mocked up a diagram of the Shinjuku station platform?
Yeah. Oh, wait! That's it! You could be onto something. There's a point where Ehara wasn't on camera at all.
Mm-hmm.
What is this point you speak of?
Let's all go over the diagram so that everything will be clear. Here's what I want you to see. What the?
That right there.
It's very brief, but there's a moment where Ehara and Mamiya-san can't be seen by the security cameras. The dotted lines on the arrow represent the camera's blind spot.
And his
It
biceps.
does appear so. So you're saying this is where the groper, the fake Ehara, traded places with the real one?
Can't say it's impossible, right?
Right. Except if that actually happened, Mamiya-san would have been right behind them at the time. Could the two really swap places without her noticing?
In a crowd like that, I think it's feasible.
If that really was Ehara's plan, then I'd say he was being careless.
Careless? How?
Well, on the day of the incident, the station was packed for morning rush hour. That means there was no solid guarantee the assailant could make the switch. He could have been nailed by any random passerby before reaching the blind spot.
Good point.
That
Not
is a
only
good point.
If Mamiya-san had called for help while the train was still moving, then the first Ehara would have been caught before even reaching the platform.
Oh, I mean, yeah! Called it.
Think about it, Yagami-san. Why would Ehara's accomplices meticulously plan out every last detail of this alibi, only to leave such a crucial component to chance, as Hoshino-kun pointed out?
Oh, just doing my job.
True. Good work, Hoshino-kun. In fact, I think that may back up my own take on it.
Yeah?
What if everything, including the appearance of leaving the plan to chance, was part of the plan?
Can you expound on that?
Yeah, I'm a little
Saying
confused.
I agree that such an airtight alibi wouldn't have allowed for contingencies. And that takes the question to another level. Just how far did they line up the pieces in advance to make the swap work?
Are you saying there's more to it than we discussed? What did we miss?
I mean, if everything on the day of the murder, including the train groping, was planned from start to finish, what else can we possibly deduce? Honestly, just from my visual aspect on the whole situation, you know, being the game player, it could be the guys. Basically, Ehara swapped with the guy next to the steps somehow, with it being rush hour traffic, you know, super busy, all that stuff. That would be the only explanation I could think of. And then that woman could potentially be his wife slash, you know, divorcer or whoever, basically the kid's mom. And they both are seeking revenge. I don't know if that's the case, but I got a hunch that that's pretty close. Okay. Hiro Mikashiba is still alive. No, he's not still alive, bro. He ain't still alive. That's a negative. The real murder took place in Kamurocho. Prosecution faked the footage. Yui Mamiya was colluding. Oh, that's also the other thing. Maybe Yui, like I said in the previous episodes, maybe she's with him on this, you know? Because again, why would you sit there 6 seconds and not say a word, not say anything to the train people, nothing, not turn around or nothing? You're just standing there.
I know this won't go over well, but what if Mamiya was colluding with Ehara all along?
Huh?
Or
Bear
6
with
minutes is what it was, not
Let's
6
say
seconds.
Mamiya was in on this and knew about the imposter in advance. If that's the case, the swap could happen right in front of her and no one but the three of them would know.
You're saying the victim of a groping conspired with her assailant beforehand? That's ridiculous.
I don't know if it's ridiculous, but I think it's a possibility, because that's what I was thinking. I'm like, how do you not say anything for 6 minutes on the train? And then immediately when you get off, then you're saying something. But there's a blind spot between when they start running and after those steps. So it's possible.
Let me just say, I'm only trying to work out how a swap like that would be guaranteed to work. Now, if Ehara and his stand-in both know that Mamiya will pretend not to have seen them, they can trade places in the blind spot with impunity. Conversely, if Mamiya wasn't in on the plan, the idea of a swap would never work. We can say with certainty that she would have seen the swap, so she could have even called attention to the real Ehara the moment he stepped in. That way, the people around her would be focused on chasing the correct assailant. The rest is as we know it. They caught Ehara and detained him until the police showed up.
Hold that thought. If your theory is accurate, what about Ehara's trace evidence? Remember that fibers of the victim's underwear were detected on his hand.
Well, that can also be explained by Mamiya being in on the plan.
Right.
For example, while the stand-in was showing himself at the security cameras, Mamiya could have easily provided Ehara access to a pair of underwear at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the stand-in loitered around for so long because he was letting everyone else get themselves in place.
It's not impossible.
We can work out the other details later. But the point is, Ehara's murder alibi is shot if Mamiya was involved. In summary, it's possible Ehara disgraced himself to secure an unshakable alibi for Mikoshiba's murder.
I'll concede that it's an avenue worth pursuing.
And when it comes to the prosecution, they can't just admit they got the first case so wrong.
Right.
Plus, they can't question Ehara about Mikoshiba's murder. In fact, their only option is to claim the tape was faked.
So he managed to make a farce out of the system after all.
Well, his court case for his son's bullying did get more or less thrown out, didn't it? The school, the investigative committee, and the court all agreed there wasn't enough evidence to convict anyone. No surprise from me that the guy held a grudge against the system for so long.
Hold on. Before we all decide on this,
What's up?
the obvious question to me is why would Mamiya be party to such a crime? She appears more than financially stable, and she's even raising a child. So why would she do something so enormously risky as helping establish a murder alibi?
He was cheating with
I
her.
haven't gotten
Potentially.
that far yet. But maybe she was promised something that far exceeds the risk. Or maybe Ehara has some kind of dirt on her even?
Mhm.
Enough to make her help with a murder? What sort of secret would be big enough to force someone into that corner?
53-year-old patrol woman and a married officer, worker, and mother. The only connection between them so far is the train station itself. But it's possible that they've known each other before the train station. If they go to the same train station over and over and over again for work, it's possible that they ran into each other before and they started talking, and with them both being married, maybe they had something to do with each other. But she didn't want it to come out to her husband, whereas he's a little bit more like, I don't care. I don't know. This is my hunch, you know? It's very possible, but I'm just thinking through it all.
What info do we have on Mamiya anyway? Maybe we can spot a connection to Ehara through her profile.
I'll pull her information. Just a second.
Oh, I just thought of something else those two would have guaranteed by working together.
What's that?
If Ehara wanted to use this crime as a murder alibi, he needed it to blow up into the public eye. But if he had chosen a victim who stayed silent, then nothing would have come of it. A solid plan would need to eliminate that variable, which means Mamiya being an accomplice was crucial to Ehara's success.
Yep.
True.
Looks like Ehara pulled one over on the prosecution then. Had his accomplices right where he wanted them, even his victim. Once we learn how he's connected to Mamiya, we can root out the rest of his team.
Let's see. According to her file, her maiden name is Yui Suzuki. 30 years old, so that's consistent. Originally from Ota, Tokyo.
Okay.
Attended a private high school called Kurakawa Academy. Later graduated from Toto University.
Huh.
Met her husband on the job, apparently. Her husband, Taichi Mamiya, is an industrial designer at Techno Zeta Inc. 6 years ago, she gave birth to their only son, Sotakun, who's now in first grade.
Hold on.
6
You
years
say She
ago.
went to Kurakawa Academy? I heard that name in Ijincho. If I recall correctly,
Wait. Is that where he graduated? Yeah, because when we went to see him, he said something about graduating. Oh, man. Wait. I think it's this one. I'm pretty sure he graduated.
that's not where Tsukuma went, was it? Before, closing himself off to the world?
Nah, Tsukumo-san studied remotely. He told
Okay.
me that when we were out having drinks one night.
Okay.
Wait. Tsukuma went out drinking with you?
Yeah, we had fun.
What did you guys even talk about?
Hey, why am I
Wait.
getting grilled all of a sudden?
Not Tsukumo. I'm thinking of the
I
wrong
agree.
person.
This is nowhere near relevant. Yagami-san, what were you saying about Kurokawa Academy?
Oh,
Okay.
right.
Yeah. My bad. I'm thinking about the wrong person. Okay. Kurokawa Academy. We weren't being spied there. At least I don't think so. Were we at that school? I don't think we were. I think this is it, potentially.
When I went to scope out the murder scene, there were these 3 guys watching.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep.
They told us they were just checking things out, but they mentioned they're Kurakawa grads too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any ID on you?
Will my license work?
Kake-san, age 30.
I remember now.
Aike-san, age 30. Mommy is 30 as well.
What's that got to do with anything? Aren't we
Graduating
trying to find a
class?
connection between Mamiya and Ehara?
I found the Kurakawa Academy website. Looks like they're pretty prestigious. It's in Tokyo, specifically in Ota. Pretty close to where Mamiya lived. Oh,
What?
the girls there get such cute uniforms.
You little... You want to start all over from the bar exam?
Wait, I've seen that uniform before too, actually.
Where?
Picture of a teacher at Cereal High.
Yo!
Sawa-sensei.
Sawa
Ehara's son
Sensei!
confided in
That's crazy.
her. Is she actually a Kurakawa grad too? I don't know Sawa Sensei's exact age, but she could well be 30. Maybe all of them are even classmates.
Could this mean they're actually linked? The victim and her up-to-now unrelated assailant?
It's a tenuous link at best. Could fall apart any time. But no true detective alive would pass it up.
Bro, this is crazy. Hold on. Hold on. What is happening? Honestly, I think if we think about this, if Sawa Sensei went to the same high school as Ehara and, well, not Ehara, but Yui and this, I think Akisan, that's probably not his name. But if they all went to the same school together, And she was talking about how she witnessed a kid get bullied in front of her face as she was in high school. It's possibly the whole motive of somebody getting back at somebody. I can't figure out, because Ehara would have had to, like, you know, actually be there in that school. And maybe he was either the bullier who bullied the person that Sawa seen. I don't know. It just raises so many questions now. Here we go. Chapter 6.
A previously unseen link is established between the groper and the victim. Charting out their relationship is akin to tracing a spider's web. But with each false thread ruled out, only the improbable truth remains. Ehara orchestrated the groping as a diversion, and by tarnishing his name, he secures both an alibi and his ultimate revenge.
Covering Heat. Chapter 6.
Hiro Mikoshiba's murder was sparked by the bullying of Toshiro Ehara, who committed suicide 4 years ago.
Right?
The graphic video that hit the net showed the world how Toshiro's father, Akihiro Ehara, had brutally avenged his son. We also know the father had accomplices. On October 7th at 6:30 a.m., they forced Mikoshiba into a vehicle, took him to an abandoned building, and gravely injured him. Then, around 7:30 a.m., the time frame when Ehara killed Mikoshiba, the other conspirators were probably nearby, even though they weren't on camera.
At the same time, 30 kilometers away at Ikebukuro Station, a man who looks like Ehara is caught on camera. We'll call that guy the stand-in. The stand-in made sure he was in front of the cameras for more than an hour before boarding the 9:06 a.m. train, the same one Yui Mamiya was on. After committing sexual battery on that train, he meets the real Ehara in the camera's blind spot, and they change places. That's how he established a false alibi for Mikoshiba's murder. And to achieve this, the victim, Yui Mamiya, had to have been in on it from the start.
Sure are a lot of people getting their hands dirty for Ehara. Mamiya, Ehara stand-in on the train, the guys who kidnapped Mikoshiba. How did some troubled cop manage to recruit so many allies?
Well, one person that comes to mind who might be the key to all this is Yoko Sawa. She's a teacher at Seiryo High. She was the only adult Toshiro-kun ever told about the bullying, and she supervised Mikoshiba as a teacher before he disappeared.
Right.
On top of that, she's a Kurokawa Academy graduate, same as Mamiya. Those trespassers at the murder scene were also from Kurokawa. Since they're all about the same age, it's possible they were all classmates.
So you're saying these classmates are also Ehara's murder accomplices?
If we
Potentially.
consider Yoko Sawa the central link, that's very possible. We do know that as a teacher, she felt deep remorse for Toshiro-kun's suicide. Maybe she recruited her old classmates to help Ehara take his revenge.
Yeah, best not to rule that out. Though I'm hoping that's not the case.
Why's that?
It's just, she's a really good teacher. She's passionate, responsible. She's always putting the students first. I know she regrets the past, that a student died on her watch. And now another of her students, Mikoshiba, is found murdered. So if it turns out she's involved in that, I doubt I'll be able to trust my own judge of character ever again.
Yagami.
I'm going back to Ejinsho tomorrow. The plan is to bring up Mamiya's name to Sawa-sensei and see how she reacts. Until then, let's not jump to conclusions about her involvement.
All right.
Can I chime in real quick?
You
I
can.
was looking into Kurakawa Academy and I stumbled across something that may be relevant.
What's that?
Well, it happened 13 years ago, but there was an attempted suicide. A third year jumped off the school's roof after being thoroughly humiliated.
Oh, that's right. That's the kid that Sawa-sensei mentioned. Yeah. So maybe the kid who survived the fall is connected to some of these people. Other than Sawa, obviously. Yeah, he's still in a coma to this day. That's what she
Actually,
said.
Sawa-sensei mentioned that. She said it was a boy in her class.
Right, that's gotta be the same case then. The student's name was Mitsuru Kusamoto. He's 30 now, but still in a coma.
Huh, and all that info's on the net?
It wouldn't be normally, but his mother happens to be Vice Minister of the Ministry of Health.
Wow.
Ever heard the name Reiko Kusamoto?
Not once.
I have. It was on the news. They were talking about her and her son.
So you have someone super high up who has a kid in a coma who obviously is upset about their kid being in a coma because of bullying. So oh snap, maybe that's who the woman is. Dude, hold on.
Well,
we gotta find
you
out.
remember the uproar in the health ministry when Vice Minister Ichinose got arrested? Apparently, his successor couldn't contain the resulting chaos, which is when Kusamoto-san got tapped to lead. They couldn't afford another criminal scandal, so her promotion was out of the blue.
That
She
looks
was a
like
safe
her.
choice, a veteran with tenure and experience. Not to mention, her son's tragedy made people see her as a more sympathetic figure. Very popular. She's kind of a new generation heroine, so to speak.
Huh.
Is any of that relevant to the case at hand, though?
Who knows? But Reiko Kusamoto and Ehara both have children who were bullying victims.
Right.
I don't think that's a connection we can afford to overlook, if you ask me.
Okay, so Kusamoto's son. What exactly happened to him?
Let's see. He was bullied by a fellow third year at his school, Shinya Kawai. The records say he harassed Mitsuru-kun every day, in and out of school. Well, one time he even stuffed dirty rags in his mouth.
That's crazy.
That's so cruel.
Yeah, and the teacher was a real piece of work. Apparently he knew, but he just smirked and said, "Don't overdo it."
Yep.
Oh, I remember now. The media pounced on that one hard.
If they were classmates, then both Sawa-sensei and Mamiya would know about this.
And maybe because they couldn't save Mitsuru-kun, their guilt left them open to Ehara's persuasion.
But to prove that, we'll have to hear from them directly.
Right.
I'll talk to Sawa-sensei first thing tomorrow.
That'd be helpful. In the meantime, I'll be working on Ehara's appeal. It's clear they missed something important in the trial, since Ehara is apparently innocent of sexual battery. Being that he was out committing murder at the time.
What started as a simple harassment case sure has blown up big.
Like a balloon. Man. Okay. Okay. So potential. What in the world is going on? I need to swap controllers. Hold on a second. All right, I had to cut that because my controller was stick drifting and it was not nice. All right.
I admit, I used to see Ehara as nothing more than a shameless cop who got what he deserved. But I guess that's what he wanted us to believe, along with the prosecution and the public at large.
Yeah, he definitely did that on purpose, man.
What we're dealing with is a man who disgraced himself and the justice system all in the name of vengeance. At this point, I doubt much can scare him. You have to be a certain kind of desperate to sink that low.
Massively. Like, to the core of the earth depths low, dude.
Thanks again, Yagami-san. Try to relax for once. You've earned it.
I will do that. But that's going to do it for today's episode. As always, drive safe, be smart, most of all, have fun. God bless, take care, and let's find out who's really connected. Is it Sawa Sensei? Is it Yui? Is Ehara somehow with the vice president of the health community? Don't know. We're going to find out next episode. Thanks for watching. Adios, muchachos.